planning and preparing when the mother realized that it had been quite a while, and the daughter still hadn't returned with the mug of beer. So she went downstairs to see what was up. And she found the daughter sitting on the stairs, head in her hands, while the beer ran out of the tap, which was wide open, and ran all over the floor. And the mother went up to her and asked, "Daughter, what's wrong?" And the daughter said, "Well, you see, I was thinking about what I'll name my children when I marry this man. All the good names are taken." And the mother said, Now, don't worry, dear. I'll sit down and think about it with you." And so she did. Meanwhile, upstairs, the father and the traveler are continuing to make plans, and the father realizes that it's taken both mother and daughter quite a while to get one single jug of beer. So he excuses himself from the conversation and goes down and sees the daughter and the mother sitting side by side on the stairs while the beer runs out of the tap, which is right open, and spills all over the floor. And the father says, "What are you two doing? You're wasting all my beer." And the mother says, "Well, you see, we were thinking about what our daughter will name her children if she marries this man. So all the good names are taken." And the father thinks about this for a second and says, "That's actually a good point. I'll think about it with you." So he sits down on the stairs next to them. Meanwhile, upstairs, poor traveler, he's already come a long way, and he's been sitting around making plans, and he still hasn't gotten his drink. So he goes downstairs, and he sees daughter and mother and father sitting down on the stairs, and they're just sitting there, looking very contemplative, while the beer runs out of the tap and spills all over the cellar floor. And the traveler says, "What are you guys doing that you're not coming upstairs and you're letting your beer spill all over the floor? This makes no sense." And the father says, "Yes, son, I know. But think of the children." What? No, really. What will you name your children when you marry our daughter if all the good names are taken? Now, the traveler was quite taken aback by this, but he came up with an answer, and here's what he said. "I'm going to leave now. And if I find 3 people that are more foolish than the lot of you, I'll come back and I'll marry your daughter." So the traveler goes on his way, and he comes to an orchard where there are a few people trying to load chestnuts into a cart using pitchforks. As you can imagine, this was like trying to eat soup with your fingers. Wasn't working so well. So the traveler goes up to them and says, "What are you doing?" And one of the workers says, "You see, we're trying to take our chestnuts to market, but we can't seem to manage to get them in the wagon." And the traveler explains that maybe it would be easier if they took baskets and loaded the chestnuts into the baskets so they could turn the baskets out into the cart. And as they parted ways, the traveler thought to himself, "Well, I've already met someone that's sillier than those 3. So he continues on his way, and eventually he comes to a wood where he sees one of the strangest sights he's ever seen. There's a peasant and a very large pig. Very large pig. And the peasant is trying with all his might to push the pig up the tree. And this being a very large pig, it was going very, very badly. So the traveler approaches the man and says, "My good sir, what are you doing to your pig?" And the peasant puts the pig down and says, "Well, you see, my pig wants to eat some acorns, but I can't seem to get the pig up the off the tree. And the traveler says, now it seems to me it would be very much easier if you climbed the tree and you shook the acorns down so that the pig would pick them up off the ground. And the peasant says, well, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. So, as they part ways, the traveler to travel, and the peasant to climb a tree, the traveler thinks, well, there's the second idiot. This has to be a coincidence, right? You know, all the people I meet can't be sillier than those three. So, he keeps going until he sees something that even beats out the guy with the pig. There is a man and a pair of trousers. Sounds normal, right? Well, evidently this guy was some kind of Scotsman who'd never worn trousers before. So here's what he was doing. It's quite ingenious, really. He'd taken some tacks, and he'd tacked the pants to a tree, and he was jumping up as high as he could, trying to land in the pants on the way down. And the traveler watched him for several minutes, because this was the funniest thing he'd seen all week. Until he finally takes pity on the man and says, you know, it would probably be easier if you took the pants in your hands and then put your legs through the holes, one at a time. And the man with the pants turns around and says, that's a brilliant idea! You must be smarter than I am, because I never would have thought of that. And it was at this point that the traveler realized he had just met three people that were more foolish than his bride, or her father, or her mother. So he promptly went back to the daughter's home to make good on his promise to marry her. And over time, he had a great many children with a great many very good names.